It's the time of the week when we're joined by Stephanie Dobson. Stephanie is a lawyer, mediator, and online educator with Hankett Divorce Law and Mediation. There's offices in Edmonton and Lloydminster. Stephanie, thanks for joining me once again.
Nice to see you, Stacey.
This week, Stephanie, we are tackling the first part of some tips on how kids can thrive in basically a two-home childhood, because especially, at younger ages, it can be very difficult. So we're going to get right into it and start with, what is your first tip to helping kids make it through what can be difficult for some of their childhood?
So tip number one, I encourage open dialogue with the children. So when the time comes that you do speak with the children about the separation, of course, there's so many things to consider. But in my opinion, one of the most important things is to make sure that they know that you're there to talk anytime. So just because you choose a Thursday after supper to talk with them doesn't mean that they have to ask questions or the whole dialogue has to happen at that time. They might not have questions right away. They may just need time to absorb the information that you're giving them. But I encourage parents, of course, to observe their children over time just to see how they're doing and make sure that even if they're not asking you questions, you might need to prompt them to ask their questions or to come to you when they're ready to open up.
Okay, and tip number two is create consistency and predictability in the parenting schedule as much as possible.
Yeah, so we've talked a little bit about this when we talk about building parenting plans, but a parenting schedule will look very different for every family. So sometimes there's an unpredictable work schedule and you might have trouble coming up with setting that parenting schedule. But if you look at the theme, I would encourage parents to think about it from a theme point of view. So consistency and predictability are great ways to help children adjust to any schedule moving between their two homes. So something that allows them to know when they're going from home to home, and something that is a little bit more consistent on a calendar basis.
Okay, and the next tip is to encourage something that we're calling distance parenting. And that can either be done through phone calls or through FaceTime, video, however that it needs to happen. And why is that something that should be considered?
Well, distance parenting is really technology parenting. So being able to communicate with your child when you're not with them. So we don't know what your parenting schedule will be. Again, we're trying to create that predictability and consistency, but it may be equal time, it may be unequal time, but irrespective, it's really important for kids to stay connected with both parents. Of course, kids these days are very adept at technology, so it might be opportunities through Snapchat or through messaging. It might be through FaceTime or other kind of video messaging applications. But it's really important that even if something like messaging or video messaging doesn't occur spontaneously, so sort of random times during the day that you're messaging one another, I would certainly encourage you to set some times per week that you know that you'll be there to message, so you know that it happens. So the old saying goes, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. So if you know that Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday at 6:30, I'm going to make sure that I go on FaceTime with my kids, then you know that it's going to happen each week.
All right, and tip number four, and almost kind of an extension of this, I guess, is that children should never be used as a messenger. So if you're doing the video and phone calls, get the information yourself. Don't use the child as the one who's supposed to be relaying the messages.
Yeah, so certainly in those video messages or the chats, we want to keep it on kid-centered type of conversation. How was your day at school? What drama was there, or what did you do today? How was work? How was school? That kind of thing. But definitely, children should not be used as a go-between for communication between parents. It really does result in some in the children feeling like they're put in the middle. It also really creates that game of telephone tag where you say a message, or in a video chat you might say something to please tell your mom that or tell your dad that, and then that game of telephone tag happens where the message might get fuddled up, and we need to correct that. So it's best just to keep it between the parents if possible.
All right, and the last tip for today, Stephanie, is to maintain a quality relationship between the children and each parent.
Yeah, so we really want to try to avoid having kids take sides and allow the children to love both parents equally. Now, equal love doesn't mean equal in time. It We're talking about quality of the relationship, not quantity of the relationship. So regardless of how much time the kids have with each parent, that quality of engagement is defined by things like engaging with each other regularly between parent and child, being actively involved and engaged with things that are important to them. So their school progress, their activities, going to their basketball games, that kind of thing, participating in day-to-day activities with them, like helping them with their homework or their music practice or playing basketball with them and helping them to improve their skills. Being available to them without distraction, even having a meal together without electronics. Imagine that. Good old conversation at the dinner table. So really creating some special time with your kids is what's really important.
All right, Stephanie, well, thank you for that. And we will be back next week to continue with the next 5 tips on this subject. So thanks once again, and we will see you next Wednesday.
Sounds good, Stacy.